the average value, okay, square root of that. Look, I really probably need to do a video on how to do that calculation. It is straightforward enough to do. It's just that there's a bit of work in relation to from a formula perspective. But irrespective of that, we now have a formula for dealing with ordinal versus interval measures, scaled variables, if that makes sense. Just moving along now. So what about when we have a dichotomy? So when we have a dichotomy, a natural dichotomy versus an ordinal variable, an ordinal, which is, once again, is our rank variable. So the correlation is RD or for dichotomy and rank. Don't forget, now we have a dichotomy. Okay, so we have our dichotomy. So here's our ranking variable. Excuse me. So here's our dichotomy, let's say D, and here's our ranking variable. So we have 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0. Okay? And what we're going to do is just keep in mind that we're going to have R subscript 0 to represent the 0 group and R subscript 1 to represent the group of 1s. And for each one of these, the ranking variable has assigned ranks to these particular observations. Okay, so each one of these measures is a ranking. Yeah, and let's say R6 here. So what we have is it's 2 times the sum of the ranks associated with the dichotomy labeled 1. So it's the sum of the ranks associated with the dichotomy labeled 1 minus the size, the number of observations in the dichotomy labeled 1 times the total number of paired observations plus 1. And that's divided by the product of the number of observations in the dichotomy labeled 0 times the number of observations in the dichotomy labeled 1 times the total number of paired observations minus 1 divided by 3. And it's the square root of that particular value here. Okay? So R1 represents those ranks within the dichotomy labeled 1. N1 represents how many people, how many observations are in that dichotomy. N0 represents how many observations are in the dichotomy labeled 0. And big N represents the total number of paired observations. So now what we have is we've dealt now with a dichotomy and an ordinal variable. So let's now go back to our sheet and see what we've just done. So we've got Pearson done, Spearman done, Kramer's done, Phi done. We've got the Point-Biserail done. We've done eta. And now what we've done is the ordinal, the rank and the interval. So we've done the rank and the interval variable. So that's done. We've also done the dichotomy and the ordinal, the dichotomy and the rank. Okay? So the dichotomy and the rank is done. And now we're left with just 2 other formulas, which is the dichotomy and the multichotomy and the multichotomy and the rank. Okay? This is quite a long video here now. This is about half an hour now. But it's definitely a video that's going to clear, that deals with all of these formulas that it's very hard to find in one place unless you read the weary text. So the next thing is, what about when we have a multichotomy? So we have a multichotomy versus a ranked variable. So the correlation now is MR is equal to, and this is just keep in mind, we have a multichotomy now. So we have our multichotomy and we have our ranked variable. So let's label these as a 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 0. These are let's say we've got now multichotomy, we've got more than 2 levels, yeah, okay, in this particular variable. And then we have all of our ranks are going down here and so on. So what we need to do is we need to just keep in mind how many levels there are. So there's k levels on this particular multichotomy. Yeah, 0, 1, 2. That's 3 levels so far here, but we could have k of them. So keep in mind that the subscript k